All in Sports Network. We love sports.
The Kansas City Chiefs are looking to, let's say, turn the tides this week against the Denver Broncos. But there's a lot of stuff to talk about before that, as a former Chief has been released, and should Kansas City sign him back? Another former Chief is signing with a, let's say, familiar foe in the AFC. And again, is the AFC 1 seed still alive for the Kansas City Chiefs? We talk about all these possibilities here today on the show. Welcome to the Chiefs Report on the Rogue Sports Media Network. We appreciate you tuning in to the content today, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're listening on Apple Music or Spotify. We really do appreciate you consuming our content in whatever way you choose to do so, and cannot show our appreciation enough. So lots to talk about here on today's show. A released Chief has been talked about as a potential signing for Kansas City, but it may not be in the way you're thinking. We'll bring up that. Again, I mentioned there is another former Chief out there that was signed by a familiar foe. And then the path to the 1 seed, it actually is not as complicated as you might think. However, it definitely is unlikely, but we're still talking about the possibility here today on the Chiefs Report. So without further ado, let's get right into it and talk about this sneaky potential signing for the Kansas City Chiefs. So if you follow the NFL, if you follow most of the NFL reporters, you probably know Ian Rappaport. And he had this, saying the Steelers have released veteran safety Juan Thornhill, per me and Mike Garafolo, and he now heads to waivers for a fresh start. If he clears, he'll be a free agent. I believe now he has officially cleared waivers, as this was 2 days ago, and it's open to sign with any team in the NFL as a free agent. With that to be said, I am intrigued to see if the Chiefs have even a remote thought of signing Juan Thornhill. If you don't remember, Thornhill played with the Chiefs for the first 4 years in his career and was very, very, very good here. You think about his 4 seasons in Kansas City. He played in 16 games in 3 of the 4 seasons, 17 games in 1 of those 4 seasons. Lots of good years here. Lots of good years. 3 interceptions in his rookie years, what everybody goes back to. But he also had 3 interceptions back in his final season with Kansas City in 2022. Since leaving Kansas City, though, it has not been the same fortune. He only appeared in 11 games in 2023 and in 2024 with Cleveland. And then, of course, this year with Pittsburgh in 9 games. Had 38 tackles, 23 of those solo, and just had 1 pass defended. Whereas we go back to his Kansas City days, we're talking 5 passes defended in his rookie season, 9 passes defended in the last season with Kansas City. And overall, you can look at this player and say, maybe he could work out with the Chiefs. Kansas City has this funny way of doing things where they release a player, they don't sign a player back, whatever happens, and that player ends up signing with a different team, moving on, moving without his career. And it doesn't go well for them. And then they find their way back to Kansas City, and all of a sudden their career is reinvigorated. There's a couple of different guys we can go to, but the most obvious one is Kareem Hunt, who we have right now. And he was basically out of the league last year. Let's be honest. He was basically out of the league, and now he's doing some great things with Kansas City. As a 30-plus-year-old running back, it's a very good thing. But for Thornhill, does this signing make sense if they were to even consider it, is the big question. That's where you have to go and look at the depth chart for Kansas City. Safeties are a position that I feel as though the Kansas City squad feels pretty confident, especially in the starters. They love Shamari Connor, which I do too. Brian Cook has been a part of this team for, 4 or 5 seasons now, so they trust him. Kevin Knowles is a guy that is very much talked about during practice. He was talked about during training camp. They enjoy what he can bring out there on the field. And same can be said to some extent about Jaden Hicks. But overall, I think the bigger statement is he's not going to come in and be a starter. He might not even come in and be a backup. And so for Juan Thornhill, it's what options are available. And while Kansas City poses an intriguing thing due to the winning culture, the ability to win, and as we'll talk about later in the show, the ability for this team to figure it out late down the stretch and still come out and be a top-tier team in the AFC when it comes to playoff times. But does he want to play with a winning team? And I say play, not play. Or would he rather go to a team in which he's going to get reps, going to play the game and try and get himself a new contract, whether that be next year or whenever that might be? And so that's the question. But what's funny about all this is if, let's say, Juan Thornhill says, you know what? I'm a safety. The past 3 years have been tough. Maybe it's time to go back where I had my first starting career and it looks good. What would that look like? Well, Charles Goldman had an interesting analysis here. He talks about it saying that former chief safety, Juan Thornhill, has cleared waivers, which we know now, and he is a free agent. Here's where the crazy part comes in. It is worth noting that Kansas City is not full on their veteran eligibility on the practice squad. If they wanted, they could bring Juan Thornhill back on their veteran practice squad, which basically is an extra spot for them ineligible. I do think that Juan Thornhill, for as illustrious of a career as he had in some aspects, it would take a lot for him to say, yes, it's Kansas City. Yes, it's a winning culture. Yes, there's lots of good things. It would take a lot for him to be like, you know what? I'm 7 years into my career. I'm looking at this from an outside perspective, knowing that, it's looking pretty bleak down the line of the past 3 seasons. Let's go back to Kansas City, but I'm going to be on the practice squad. I'm going to play scout team against Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. I don't find that to be so intriguing for a 7-year veteran. But at the same time, that could be his best option. It really could be. And so the question becomes for not just Juan Thornhill, but the Chiefs. What would he actually do with this team? Would he be on the practice squad as a scout team role? Would he be on the practice squad and actually play a legitimate role in practices and be pulled up multiple times through the past couple of weeks or the last 8 weeks? That's where the questions have to be asked of what does Juan Thornhill want? Is he okay with being on the practice squad? Are the Chiefs on the practice squad wanting him? And then what would his role be? And is that role suitable for a veteran style of Juan Thornhill? So does this signing intrigue me? Yes. Do I remember the days of Juan Thornhill in his rookie season and the time in Kansas City he spent and look at it great and think, man, that would be nice to have back? Yes, but at this point, that was 3 years ago. He's not the same player. The Chiefs are not the same organization. The needs are not the same. If he would like to come back on that veteran practice squad, fantastic. Shake my hand. You are signed today. If that's not what you want, that's fine, but we can't offer you anything else. We don't have any availability to put you on the active roster. We don't have any availability to be able to figure that out. That's where the biggest thing comes in. So, I don't know if that's going to be something the Chiefs do pursue. I do think it is an intriguing thing, though, to just look at from a holistic standpoint. Say, yeah, he played with us. He was good. And the safety position, you have that veteran availability. You wouldn't mind having somebody like that on the practice squad to have in case of emergency. Funny enough, though, there's another Kansas City Chief former player that is, instead of being released, being signed. But he's being signed in Buffalo. That's right. Mecole Hardman has signed with the Buffalo Bills, and he was on their practice squad, so he's not like going to be playing against us in the playoffs or whatever in theory. I mean, he could, but on practice squad as a veteran like that, I don't see what the full picture is. But I do look at this and find it intriguing, specifically on the point that the Buffalo Bills wide receiver group is an interesting group. And we saw them when we played them 2 weeks ago, I guess now, but they don't have a one for sure. And they were without one of the receivers and Joshua Palmer, I believe is what his name was. But Keon Coleman's very good, but I don't know if he's a one. Khalil Shakir is very good. I don't know if he's a one. Like, they just have a bunch of like solid wide receivers. Mecole Hardman can be a solid wide receiver. So I can't say I would be shocked if Mecole Hardman like came in, made a couple of big plays with the Buffalo Bills, but it is kind of weird to see him in a Bills jersey because we all know the history. He spent first 4 years in Kansas City, he signed with New York. We trade for him in that 2023 season after he signed away, and then he comes in and makes the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. He's got an illustrious history with Kansas City. Plays with us back in 2024 as well. Nothing crazy though. We only had 12 receptions for 90 yards. So production definitely went down, but he's never been like a top tier production guy. But he also hasn't been successful outside of Kansas City. I mean, the one time he spent, again, it was the Jets, so you can't really say much, but he had 5 games in which he had 1 reception for 6 yards. Signed with Green Bay this year and was on the practice squad and up on the roster and never really did much. Now he's on the practice squad of the Buffalo Bills. And so it's like, I don't know what the future holds for McCole Hardman, but it just seems in some ways like maybe the football gods are setting up a position in which, hey, it's the playoffs time, and guess what? We got Chiefs in Buffalo again. Wow, what a crazy situation. Oh, is McCole Hardman being called up? Is he on the active roster? Man, he is, and he makes a big play like that. That's something where it's like, all right, that just seems like it could be a likely possibility. Obviously, we don't know that for sure. McCole Hardman, for all intents and purposes, should not be on the active roster unless he gets pulled up for a game due to injury or something like that. So it is interesting, though, to see other Chiefs players. And I mean, I've said this a couple times during the show, but it's so crazy to me how well the Chiefs are able to develop talent. And there's stories across this league of like a team having a player and going somewhere else and he doesn't do well. But the Chiefs have so many of those players where they like do so well in Kansas City, and they go somewhere else and they're not good. It reminds me of the Patriots dynasty, to be all honest with you. It's like the receivers that Brady had, some of the players they had looked terrible on other teams. And they came back and they're like, oh, we're good now. Like, it's just, I think that shows the importance of coaching, first of all, culture in the atmosphere and in the stadium. And the Kansas City Chiefs have both those things. I mean, Andy Reid is probably one of the best coaches of all time, if not maybe top 3 coaches of all time. Obviously, Coach Spags is very good, which, by the way, he has a chance to be taken over by the Giants. We'll talk about more on that in a later show, but he has a very real shot to be kind of nipped and be the next Giants head coach, which would then take him away from the defense coordinator position for the Chiefs. So we'll kind of talk about the history in that. And then, of course, Matt Nagy has, for all his bad coaching years with the Bears, he's done pretty decent. Obviously, having Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce really does help, though, in that case scenario. So it is intriguing, though, and I find it that the Chiefs have done that more often than not, where players will be great and then go somewhere else and not be great. Okay, we got the path to the AFC 1 seed. The Chiefs, they're still in it. We'll talk about how they can get there, what's the likelihood, the remaining schedule, and what needs to be done across a couple of different teams for that to happen. We're going to take a quick break, though. We'll be right back here on the Chiefs Report. But stick around. Again, the path to the 1 seed, it is still very much alive. We talk about it when we come back here on the Rogue Sports Media Network.
Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. At 25 Home, our ultimate goal is to provide you with a transformative experience, making each day feel like it has an extra hour. We believe your home is more than just a space, it's a sanctuary where comfort, relaxation, and happiness thrive. Discover the difference at 25 Home today. Shop now at 25home.com.
I need to get real excited.
Sure.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Sheridan Vasquez. And this is Sheridan Soundcheck Sessions. And I will be interviewing some of your favorite musicians and maybe some you've never heard before. Join me on Sheridan Soundcheck Sessions for something new every time. You can find Sheridan Soundcheck Sessions anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemediamusic.com. Yeehaw. And keep the music playing.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
Yeah.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com. Want to turn your passion into profit? With Blogify, creating a blog has never been easier. Build, customize, and grow your site with powerful tools designed for beginners and pros alike. Start sharing your story today and watch your audience grow with Blogify. Visit blogify.ai today for a free 3-day trial. That's Blogify, Blogify.ai today. Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Stay connected no matter where you are with eSIM-X. Say goodbye to expensive roaming charges and physical SIM cards. With access to over 200 global carriers, we make mobile connectivity seamless and affordable for travelers worldwide. Join the future of communication today at esimx.com. That's ESIMX.com.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Easy Sun has been living fearlessly under the sun since 2016. Born from sailors' need for convenient sun protection, our mineral sunscreen is crafted with natural ingredients offering broad spectrum protection against UVA and UVB rays. Safe for your skin and the environment, stay protected on the go with Easy Sun, your ultimate sun care solution. Visit EasySun.com today. That's EEZYSUN.com.
Well, the Kansas City Chiefs do sit at 5-4. The path to the 1 seed is actually more likely than you might think. And today, let's talk about the breakdown of what needs to happen and how the Chiefs could ultimately, if they do the right things and some things fall in their favor, could end up as the number 1 seed and be hosting games at Arrowhead once again in this postseason. Let's first start by looking at the playoff standings as we sit here heading into what is week 11 here. So as of right now, the number 1 team in the AFC is the Indianapolis Colts. They are tied with the same record with the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots. The Colts have the best conference record among conference records, so that's why they're number 1. The Broncos obviously have the second best, and the Patriots behind them. Looking past that, the Pittsburgh Steelers lead that division. That's why they're 5-4, but have that 4 slot. The Los Angeles Chargers, obviously we know them, 7-3. The Buffalo Bills, they have a 2-game deficit according to the New England Patriots because they have lost to the Patriots. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars sit at 7, and Kansas City right now sitting at the 8th seed. So how can they, first of all, considering the application they will need, make the playoffs? Well, simple as that. If we go look at their schedule, to make the playoffs, it's really not that hard. If you were able to really just beat Dallas, Houston, Tennessee, Las Vegas, you're in the playoffs. If you lose every game in your division and of the Colts, you still should be able to make playoffs. So it'd be tight, but you could make the playoffs. How do you get the 1 seed, though? That might seem like a crazy possibility because we are 5-4 and you haven't looked good against good teams. But let's say everything goes right. You win out. In that case, if we scroll back to the NFL standings, you play the Colts in 2 weeks. So therefore, if you have the same record as them potentially, you would have the tiebreaker. You would beat the Denver Broncos. You'd have the tiebreaker against them. In theory, also, you would win the division of the Broncos and the Chargers if you went out. So you're going to jump all that. So boom, you're taking out the Broncos and the Chargers there. The Patriots have a less conference record because at that point you would have beaten the Broncos twice. You'd have beaten everybody twice besides the Chargers. So you would have, in theory, had 1 loss in your conference or division. I don't see the Jaguars holding on for that long, 5-4. There is a legitimate possibility. Now, again, you would have to win out. You would have to win out in theory to make that a possibility because you have 4 losses. So the Colts would have to lose to somebody else. Same can be said for Denver. But again, you play Denver twice, so you beat them twice, boom, you take over. But it's actually not as hard as you think. Now, again, we are going to learn a lot from this team in this upcoming game, because Denver won the game this past Thursday, but good grief, if you watch that game, they looked terrible. They looked, or I guess not. It was it last Thursday? It was 2 Thursdays ago now. They looked awful. They looked awful. And well, I think the Chiefs can beat them. I really, really do. I know that we've talked so much on this page about how in the games the Chiefs have played against, I'm not going to say formidable opponents, but playoff caliber opponents in Buffalo and Jacksonville, Detroit, the Eagles, the Chargers. They've lost those games besides Detroit. And granted, Jacksonville is a comeback. Baltimore is a better team than what they showed, and you beat them. The Giants are the Giants. Not really about that. Washington have Jane Daniels in Las Vegas. They're barely a football team at this point. But if you can come out, and I truly do believe this, if you can come out and you beat Denver on the 11th, or on week 11 here, and you take them out, you can then go on, face the number one team in the AFC, in Indianapolis, who may or may not be at that point tied with you. You beat them. That's 2-0 record against the top 2 teams in the AFC, and the rest of the schedule could easily be won. Dallas is not that good of a team, especially on defense. Houston is not that good of a team, in my opinion, really in a lot of different lights. The Chargers, you played them once and lost them, but I think you could beat them. Obviously not worried about Tennessee. If you beat Denver once at Denver, you can beat them again at home on Christmas. And then boom, you have the Las Vegas game on the 18th, which you should win. There is a legitimate possibility you go 8-0. Now, again, are you looking at this 5-4 team and saying, you know what? They're going to win 8 straight. I'm just telling you right now. Like, obviously, it's the Chiefs. Obviously, there is a precedent behind this team that is having high expectations. But at the same time, we have to kind of, one, look at this realistically and look at it as a Chiefs mindset, because they have Patrick Mahomes. They have Travis Kelce. They have Andy Reid. Like, this is a team that can just pull some stuff out of the hat late in the season. They've done it before. But it's almost like they need to turn on the playoff Chiefs a little early. And so that's where I think the 1 seed is so important to Kansas City for so many different reasons. I mean, I think the biggest one is how good you've been at Arrowhead this season. I mean, just looking at the games. Los Angeles was a neutral site game. You lost. Philadelphia and Arrowhead, whatever, you lost. You lose away. You lose away. You win at home. In your past, 5 games, you've lost the 2 away games. You've won the 2 home games. The 1 away game that you have won officially was New York on Sunday Night Football against Russell Wilson. Whoop-de-flip-and-do. Like, that's great. You beat a team that fired their head coach. It doesn't really matter. This is why this game this weekend poses an even bigger threat and an even bigger motivation behind it. Because if you go on the road, which is something that has been tough for you this season, beat a Denver team which, whether they're actually as good as their record shows or not, they are still the top record in the AFC, or one of the top 3 records given the 3-way tie between the Patriots, the Broncos, and the Colts. And they're in your division, in your conference. You would get a 3-headed monster right there in terms of that one. You prove you can win on the road. You prove you can win in your division. You prove you can win against the top teams in the AFC, which you haven't been able to prove this season. The only top-tier team that you've beaten has been the NFC in the Detroit Lions. You've played, besides that in the AFC, you've played a team that is horrible in Las Vegas. You've played a team that was good, but you lost them. You played Baltimore, which Lamar Jackson got hurt in, and they have, at that point, were like 1-4. They went to 1-5. I mean, they're back now, but still, they weren't the same back then. So it really does kind of change the outlook of this team, of this season, of the mindset of this season. But again, for as bad as Denver looked on this past Thursday, they are a formidable opponent. Bo Nix has looked very good this season. They have a decent wide receiving staff with Cortland Sutton. I've got to bring up Marvin Mims and the potential he could be an X factor against the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, Troy Franklin has really hit his stride in his second year. And then J.K. Dobbins has played great, and the running back alongside R.J. Harvey. Their defense is one of the best in the NFL. Nick Bonito is fantastic. Obviously, we know about Pat Surtain. The talent is there for the Broncos, but the talent is also there for the Chiefs. It just hasn't correlated for Kansas City when it has correlated for the Broncos. And again, I say the Broncos are a good team, but you look at their schedule, you look at their record, and I would argue that they have just as good of a possibility of being 5-4 as the Chiefs did. They beat the Raiders by 3. They beat the Texans by 3. Like, this is not a team that has been blowing teams out of the water. They beat the Jets and the Giants by a combined 3 points. Yeah, they beat Philadelphia, again, by 4. The two teams that they've played that have been, quote-unquote, top-tier formidable opponents, and Indianapolis and Los Angeles, they lost. Now, again, they lost those games by a combined 4 points, so there's also that part. They had close games throughout the entire season, but I really do think if you are polling the NFL, if you're polling the Chiefs, if you're polling the Broncos fans, if this game is a close game and comes down to the wire, I guarantee people are going to take the Chiefs. That's just the way it's been in the history. The past 4 years, it's been the Chiefs in close games. This is a different Chiefs team. This is a different, I'm not going to say era at all because you still have the same people, but there are guys that are getting older and times are getting thin for some people that you see as key figures on this team. And so with all that being said, how can you make this a good year? And it's really by turning it on. I really thought the Breece Hall trade would have turned the year on, but doesn't seem like you're going to have Isaiah Pacheco, so the running back room is going to be a bit thin. The lack of sacks has been there, and Bo Nix is a decently mobile quarterback. So overall, this is a intriguing game for so many different reasons. I mean, the offense of the Chiefs, the defense of the Broncos, Bo Nix, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you talk about the receiving core of the Chiefs, the receiving core of the Broncos. I understand the Broncos are 8-2, I understand the Chiefs are 5-4, but these teams are insanely similar, and I think it's unrealized how similar they actually truly are. So the 1 seed is there to make the final point, but if you lose this game against the Broncos, then it really quickly goes away. So can you play your games in Arrowhead? You can, but I mean, we saw back in 2023 when they went to the Super Bowl and beat the 49ers. They don't need to be in Arrowhead. It's a good thing, but they don't need to be in Arrowhead to win their games. So no matter what you see, no matter what you believe about the Chiefs, they're always in the hunt. They're always going to be right there. And I fully believe that they win these next 2 weeks, they could easily be the number 1 seed in the AFC. We appreciate you hanging out with us here on the Chiefs Report. I want to thank again all your support as of late and making us your daily listen on Chiefs news. We'll talk tomorrow about the possibility of losing Coach Spags to the Giants. We'll talk about the game and the injury report that we get from today's practice from the Kansas City Chiefs and so much more. So make sure you stick around. See you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and peace out, everybody.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.